Guys, and welcome to another Hurling predictions video. We've got a big weekend, so let's jump right in. Up first we have the Laurie Mar Cup match between Longford and Louth. This should be a close-ish one. I believe Longford actually won last week. Yes, they had a very close win, whereas Louth unfortunately lost. So it's a tough one to call, but I imagine it'll go in Longford's favour. I'm going to say by 2 points. I think they're just that small bit stronger. So Longford to win by 2 points. Up next we have the Nicky Record Cup match between Donegal and Roscommon. Both of these teams won last week, so it should be close enough. I think Roscommon probably had the easier game against Warwickshire. Donegal had a much tougher game with Armagh, but not by much. I think Donegal won by a good bit in the end. So it's hard to say who could win this, but I'm going to go with Donegal. I think they'll just come out a bit stronger in the end. I'm going to say by 3 points. So yeah, Donegal to win by 3 points. Up next we have the Nicky Record Cup match between Tyrone and Armagh. Tyrone won last weekend, Armagh lost. So I think the advantage is with Tyrone, and I think it'll stay with them. I think they're doing pretty well. I'm going to say 3 points. I think they're just a little bit stronger. So Tyrone to win by 3 points. Up next we have the Christy Ring Cup match between London and Mayo. Mayo won last week, London lost. So I think the game is in favour of Mayo as it stands. I imagine it should stay that way. I think Mayo are probably just a little bit stronger, but I'll give London a chance, and I'll say only a 2 point score difference. So yeah, Mayo to win by 2 points. Up next we have the Christy Ring Cup match between Kildare and Derry. Both Kildare and Derry won last week and actually won pretty well. So this will be a tough one. But I think Kildare might be the slightly stronger team. Derry had a bigger win, but I think Kildare had a bit of a tougher game. So I'm going to go with Kildare on this, and I'm going to say by 2 points. I think Kildare and Derry are the two teams in the running for it, so I imagine it'll be quite a close result. So Kildare to win by 2 points. Next we have the Christy Ring Cup match between Sligo and Wicklow. Both of these teams lost last weekend to the previous games teams. Oh no, Wicklow actually lost to Mayo, not Derry or Kildare. So it's hard to say. I think Sligo got the tougher team in Derry than Wicklow got in Mayo. So it's kind of hard to say, but I think I'm going to go with Sligo on it. I think they were just unlucky against Derry, and I'm going to say by 3 points. I think it was just the look of the draw that Sligo unfortunately got Derry and Wicklow got Mayo, so I think Sligo should come out better in this one. So Sligo to win by 3 points. Up next we have the Joe McDonagh Cup match between Offaly and Meath. Both these teams lost last weekend, but I think Offaly are... I'm going to go with Offaly. I think Offaly, they're one of the bigger teams. I think they were unfortunate when they got relegated from Leinster and then from the Joe McDonagh Cup, but they've just bounced right back up. They got promoted to Round 1 in the Hurling. Unfortunately, they got relegated again, but I think Offaly are probably one of the stronger teams, and I think they could be back in Leinster next year. So I'm going to go Offaly, and I'm going to say I imagine it'll be quite a large victory, because Offaly, like I said, Offaly are one of the stronger teams. I'm going to say by 8 points. I imagine they'll want to bounce back from their defeat to Antrim. So Offaly to win by 8 points. Up next we have the Joe McDonagh Cup match between Carlow and Kerry. Carlow coming off a massive win over Meath. Kerry coming off an unlucky loss to Down. But I think this one could actually be the flip. I think Carlow could lose this one and Kerry to win it, so I'm going to go with Kerry. I don't think by too much. I'm going to say 4 points. I think Kerry are probably the strongest or the second strongest in the Joe McDonagh Cup this year. Though they could fall off as the competition nears its end. So who knows, but I'm going to stick with Kerry to win by 4 points. Next we have the Munster Championship match between Limerick and Waterford. This one should be very, very close. Limerick had a very good win over Cork and Waterford had a very good win over Tipperary. So this is battle for top spot. So I imagine it'll be quite a battle. So it's hard to decide. But I think I'm going to go with Limerick to edge it out. And I think they'll do it by 2 points in the end. I think they'll be down coming into the last few minutes of it and they'll just manage to stick over 2 points and take the lead. So Limerick to win by 2 points. Up next we have the Leinster Championship match between Galway and Westmeath. Now Galway are coming off a draw to Wexford and Westmeath are coming off a loss to Kilkenny. So I think the advantage is with Galway, but I think Westmeath, if they do their best and hold out as long as they can at the very least keep the score tight. At best, obviously, they could win it, but at the very least, I think they could keep a loss a very close gap. So I think I'm going to stick with Galway though. I'm going to say 4 points. I think Westmeath, they were just unlucky against Kilkenny. When the game started, they stood up to them pretty well and then they just fell off as it went on. Whereas if they correct that mistake coming into this weekend, they can stand up to Galway much better. So, but still, I think Galway will just pull away in the end. So Galway to win by 4 points. Next we have the Leinster Championship match between Kilkenny and Laois. Kilkenny coming off a very dominant victory over Westmeath. Laois coming off a very close defeat to Dublin. Laois very, very nearly beat Dublin. They were actually ahead for a good bit of the game and they just fell off at the end. Whereas Kilkenny, they were kind of the reverse. They were kind of falling off a bit. They were kind of behind a few times, but they just pulled away a good way from Westmeath in the end. So I think Laois could be a tough game for Kilkenny. I think Laois will definitely put in the effort. I'm going to stick with Kilkenny to have the advantage though. I'm going to say by 5 points. I think Kilkenny are stronger than Dublin, so it's probably going to be a bit of an easier win for Kilkenny over Laois. But I think Laois will hold their own as best they can. So Kilkenny to win by 5 points. Next we have the Leinster Championship match between Wexford and Dublin. Wexford coming off a very lucky draw against Galway. Dublin coming off a good win over Laois. So this is probably going to be a pretty close one. Laois nearly beat Dublin. And Wexford, the last 2 times they've met Laois, just beat him off the pitch. So I think the advantage... I don't think there actually is really an advantage, but maybe a slight... It's kind of tipping back and forth in my mind. But I think I'm going to go with Wexford. I think they'll kind of correct some of the mistakes they made against Galway. And Dublin, if they go with the same team they went with against Laois, it'll cause them a bit of trouble. So I'm going to say Wexford. I'm going to say Wexford by 2 points. I think it'll be very close, but Wexford will just edge it out in the end. So Wexford to win by 2 points. Up next we have the Lorimar Cup match between Leitrim and Monaghan. Both teams won last weekend, so I imagine this will be quite a close one. But I think for this one, I'm going to go with Leitrim. I just think they seem like a bit more of a... Well, maybe not. They're kind of 50-50. Whereas Monaghan are definitely more of a football county. So I think the advantage is going to sit with Leitrim for that. I'm going to say by 3 points. I think they'll just about manage to get ahead in the end. So Leitrim to win by 3 points. Up next is the Lorimar Cup match between Cavan and Lancashire. Both teams coming off a loss. But based on how they've been going, I think the advantage is sitting with Cavan a little bit. And I'm going to say by 5 points. I think Lancashire, they just haven't really turned up this year. They've been lucky to not get, completely blown off the pitch, but they just haven't been up for it. So I'm going to go with Cavan by 5 points. Up next we have the Nicky Rackard Cup match between Fermanagh and Warwickshire. Similar situation to the last match. Both teams lost last week, so it comes down to which one of them is better than the other. But I think I'm going to go with Fermanagh. I think it's a similar situation for Warwickshire that Lancashire have. But I think they might be a little bit stronger. I mean, they are in the competition. They're in a tier above, so I imagine they'll do a little bit better. I'm going to say Fermanagh will only win by 4 points. I think Warwickshire, they're a little bit more up for it, but not compared to the other teams. So for Fermanagh to win by 4 points. Up next we have the Joe McDonagh Cup match between Down and Antrim. Both teams coming off a victory last week. It'll be an interesting one to see, but I imagine it'll be Antrim. I think Antrim are probably the first or second strongest team. I said the same about Kerry. I think it's between Kerry and Antrim for this year, possibly Offaly. Whereas Down, I think they're kind of more the underdogs, and Meath, they're out of it. Meath and Carlow are kind of probably the two weakest teams in it, and then probably Down above them. So I'm going to go to Antrim on this. I imagine they'll get quite a victory. I'm going to say by 5 points. I think Antrim, they've become such a strong team in the last few years. So I think the advantage is sitting with them. So Antrim to win by 5 points. And our final game of the weekend is the Munster Championship match between Tipperary and Clare. Now, Tipperary lost last week. Clare didn't play because there's only 5 teams in Munster, so they got a break. So I imagine this will be a tough one, but I'd probably nearly say that Clare are the weakest team in Munster at the minute. I mean, we all know Limerick are top dogs. Waterford are definitely ready to pull the trigger on taking home the Munster Championship. Tip have been top team for years. Cork are starting to build themselves, so that kind of just leaves Clare sitting at the bottom. So based on that alone, I think I'm going to go with Tip to win by 3 points. I think they'll get those 3 points early on and just manage to stay ahead in the end. So Tipperary to win by 3 points. So there you have it. Those are my predictions for the weekend's hurling fixtures. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check out my football predictions videos and also the results for both the hurling and the football. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and share, and I will see you for the next one.